Part 4. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 31. Brother gang, come and accompany me to the girls' dormitory. Li Jie picked up the bouquet and asked everyone in the dormitory to go with him. Jizi, you are finally confessing your love. He's Higang and others immediately became energetic after hearing this. The 4 people in the dormitory left the dormitory in a hurry and went straight to the dormitory of the 4th grade girls. As soon as I arrived on the 4th floor of the school, I found that the downstairs was crowded with students. The grass below the dormitory was already filled with roses, forming a heart-shaped flower bed. A tall and handsome boy stood in the middle of the heart shape. He is holding a guitar and singing. I will love you even if I die. I won't cry until I can't smile until I feel happy. The heart of destroying the universe is still there. Seeing Li Jie and the others coming, the crowd of onlookers immediately became commotion. Look, Li Jie is here. Another protagonist is coming. I've seen a good show, but I don't know who Xiao Qiao will agree to. I think both boys are excellent. It's hard to choose. Damn, who is this pretender? He sings so disgustingly. Seeing this scene, He's Higang was a little dumbfounded. Jizi, no wonder you are anxious, it turns out someone wants to cut off the beard. Yang Hao asked someone about it and said that the person was Song Chenjiao, a sophomore in the physical education department, and the deputy director of the organization department of the student union. Idiom. I'm still playing solitaire, He's Higang complained. Enter Jizi, we support you and defeat this guy. Song Chenjiao. Looking at the handsome boy not far away who revealed a hint of ruthlessness, Li Jie had some vague impressions. If he remembered correctly, this boy should have been Xiao Qiao's first boyfriend. The guilt in his heart immediately dissipated. No matter how impure his intentions were, he was still better than this guy. At this time, Song Chenjiao finished singing the song I Want to Love Even If I Die. Xiao Qiao, promise to be my girlfriend. Song Chenjiao put down his guitar and shouted upstairs. Promise him. Promise him. A dozen students from the physical education department began to cheer loudly, which aroused the emotions of many people in the crowd. For a time, there was a buzz of people and the atmosphere was extremely lively. There were more and more people watching, and the windows of the dormitory building were also opened, and they were crowded with girls looking curiously, and they all watched with gusto. Song Chenjiao also noticed Li Jie, but just glanced at him calmly, looking calm and composed. In contrast, Li Jie came in a hurry and was undoubtedly at a disadvantage. Brother Jie, your opponent is not weak, Yang Hao reminded in a low voice. He's Higang also said, Jizi, we have lost the opportunity. If it doesn't work, we will rush in and make a fuss, causing trouble for him. Li Jie looked at Song Chenjiao, his expression unchanged, and said softly, it's just a pretense, a bluff. Li Jie said this, but he was not as confident as he appeared on the surface. In fact, relatively speaking, handsome boys like Song Chenjiao are more popular with girls, otherwise the other party would not succeed every time. I really don't think those girls can see that he is a scumbag at all, and many of them just pretend not to see it. Although a scumbag is a scumbag, he is scented. Just like many things are not about right or wrong, finding a partner is never about character. Many straight men self-righteously advise goddess to stay away from scumbag men, but they don't know that they are purely consensual, and they are the one who is meddling in other people's business. Li Jie, on the other hand, looks too upright and is actually not very popular with girls. If he really competes, he is not very sure of winning. Upstairs in the dormitory, dormitory 210. Zhang Qiang and the others looked at the crowd downstairs. Senior brother Song's battle tonight is quite impressive, no worse than that of Li Jie before. One Li Jie sang affectionately and confessed his love at the welcome party, and one senior brother Song expressed his love loudly downstairs in the dormitory. Both boys are good, it just depends on how we, Xiaojiao, choose. I think we should choose Li Jie. He is handsome and has a good family background, Zhang Yu said encouragingly. Although Song Chenjiao invited her to dinner and was very good at talking, Li Jie gave her too much. Zhang Qiang shook his head and disagreed. Obviously, senior brother Song is more handsome, okay. Besides, senior brother Song is also more mature and stable. I think it's better to choose senior brother Song. Bai Wei interrupted the argument between the two. Okay, you two, stop arguing. I didn't let you choose. The key is to see who Xiaojiao wants to choose. The eyes of several girls in the dormitory fell on Xiaojiao. Xiaojiao looked away from downstairs, smiled lightly, and said, "Actually, I don't know who to choose." She was just tired of being a good girl and wanted to be rebellious. Falling in love and having a boyfriend were the first steps she took to disobey her parents' arrangements. For Xiaojiao, she just wants to find a boyfriend as soon as possible, whether it is Li Jie or Song Chenjiao. She just enjoys the high-profile feeling that the competition between the two brings to her. Come down, come down. Here comes the heroine. I wonder who Xiaojiao will choose. Seeing Xiaojiao walking out of the dormitory building, the crowd of onlookers started to boo again. Seeing Xiaojiao approaching, Song Chenjiao's eyes lit up, a smile appeared on his face, and he walked towards Xiaojiao. Xiaojiao, you, Song Chenjiao stopped in front of Xiaojiao. Just as he was about to confess his love, he was knocked to the side with force. He staggered and almost fell down. As a result, it was found that the person who hit him was Li Jie. Li Jie knocked Song Chenjiao aside, smiled at Xiaojiao, then directly took her hand and left. A flash of anger flashed across Song Chenjiao's face, but he quickly regained his composure, stood in front of Li Jie, and stopped him. This classmate, please let go quickly. If you also like Xiaojiao, we can compete fairly and let Xiaojiao choose. But if you force yourself like this, aren't you being too disrespectful to other girls? Li Jie glanced at Song Chenjiao indifferently. I don't respect girls. I'm better than you. They are all people who have girlfriends, and they openly confess to other girls. I really feel that what I do is very secretive, and I can step on it 2 boats, 3 boats, no one else can find them. Song Chenjiao's expression did not change when he heard this, and he even had a faint smile on his face. This classmate, you have to provide evidence when you speak. Do you think everyone will believe it if you just make up nonsense and throw dirty water on me? No, this only shows your bad work. Do you think I'm bluffing? Li Jie's mouth curled up slightly, and his tone was meaningful. Knowing that you are going to confess your feelings to a girl tonight, I specifically notified your girlfriend at Hongchen University in advance to come over and cheer you on. No need to thank me, I will be so helpful. I don't know what you are talking about. Song Chenjiao stared at Li Jie closely and snorted coldly, but there was a trace of panic in his eyes and he was no longer as calm as before. Seeing this, Li Jie's guess became more certain. Sure enough, the rumor he had heard was not false. Song Chenjiao really had a girlfriend at Hongchen University. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 32. People who have girlfriends dare to confess their love to other girls in such a high profile. Are they really not afraid of capsizing? Of course, Li Jie also knew that Song Chenjiao was probably forced by him. If his bold move at the welcome party hadn't made Song Chenjiao feel the pressure of competition, the other party would have kept a low profile. Hey, people are here. Li Jie said, looking behind Song Chenjiao. Senior sister, I just said that this kid is a scumbag. If you still don't believe it, now that you see it with your own eyes, you should believe it. Could it be that Una is really here? Song Chenjiao couldn't help but panic. His girlfriend Una was not easy to deal with. What's more important was that her father was his immediate boss, otherwise he would not agree to her pursuit. Song Chenjiao glanced back subconsciously, and found that no one was there. He felt relieved at first, and then realized that he had been deceived, and his face instantly became extremely ugly. The surrounding students were in an uproar. No one is a fool. Song Chenjiao's reaction said everything. Obviously what Li Jie said is true. Li Jie chuckled lightly, "Idiot, I lied to you." He can be regarded as getting rid of harm for the people. If another girl is deceived in the future, she can only say that she deserves it. You're looking for death. Song Chenjiao's eyes were filled with anger. He really hated Li Jie. He knew that he was completely famous in school, so he rushed up and punched Li Jie. Li Jie protected Xiao Qiao and slightly avoided Song Chenjiao's fist. He saw the right moment and grabbed his arms and stretched them out. He twisted and pushed the other party to the ground. Song Chenjiao struggled hard. Let me go." Li Jie twisted his arm with a slight force, and his curses turned into screams. At this time, a burly man with a height of more than 2 meters and a fist as big as a sandbag rushed up. Li Jie let go of Song Chenjiao and blocked the opponent's fist. He only felt a huge force coming from him, making his body shake. Jie kicked him in turn, knocking the opponent away. The two of them took a step or two back at the same time, both feeling that the other was not easy to mess with. "Classmate, are you overdoing it?" the burly boy said unkindly. Song Chenjiao got up from the ground and stared at Li Jie fiercely. 5 or 6 boys from the physical education department also gathered around him. On Li Jie's side, only He's Higang stood up, while Yang Hao and Wang's Haiheng did not move. Li Jie sneered, "Why, do you want to bully others by taking advantage of the strength of the crowd? It turns out that you studied sports just to fight and help the scumbag to bully others, right? With your relationship with Song Chenjiao, I don't believe that Song Chenjiao is. Didn't you know anything about it? You help the tyrants do evil and help people like Song Chenjiao to deceive girls and play with other people's feelings. Don't you feel any guilt at all? But that's right, birds of a feather flock together. If you are willing to hang out with Song Chenjiao, you are probably just like him. You are all guys who like to deceive and play with girls' feelings. Boy, what are you talking about? Do you want to die?" When Li Jie opened his mouth and slapped them, several boys from the physical education department became anxious and were about to rush forward, but were stopped by the burly boy. "Forget it, that's it for today." The burly boy said to Li Jie again, "Classmate, don't go too far. Don't talk nonsense without evidence." "Brother Lei," Song Chenjiao was very reluctant. The burly boy named Lei Ji frowned at him and said, "Why, aren't you embarrassed enough?" The students who were watching were all pointing at them, so what if they won today? The bigger the matter gets, the more embarrassing it will be for them, not to mention that Dong Lei is really not willing to help someone like Song Chenjiao. Li Jie looked at Dong Lei and said, "Song Chenjiao knows whether I have said nonsense, you know it, and everyone knows it." After saying that, he took Xiao Qiao's hand and left directly. Seeing Li Jie pulling Xiao Qiao away gradually, and seeing the strange looks from the people around him, Song Chenjiao vented his anger and kicked the heart-shaped rose bed on the ground into a mess. "Students, please pack all these things quickly. Littering is not allowed downstairs in the dormitory at this time." The dormitory aunt came and reminded them. Li Jie held Xiao Qiao's hand and walked on the campus path. Xiao Qiao had a simple ponytail hairstyle with bangs on her forehead. She wore a white short-sleeved shirt on her upper body, a black and blue plaid pleated skirt on her lower body, and a pair of white canvas shoes on her feet. She looked extremely pure and cute. People. Seeing Xiao Qiao lowering her head and looking obedient, Li Jie felt very uncomfortable. This is still the Xiao Qiao in his mind who flirts with people to death. Is this President Qiao? Li Jie handed the rose in his hand to Xiao Qiao. Xiao Qiao took the bouquet and said thank you. "Aren't you a little disappointed to see that Song Chenjiao and I didn't fight?" Li Jie said suddenly. "What, Xiao Qiao was obviously stunned for a moment, then looked confused. Li Jie chuckled lightly and said, "Stop pretending. Aren't you tired of suppressing yourself and pretending to be a good girl?" "What am I pretending to do?" "Don't talk nonsense," Xiao Qiao denied, but the slightly raised corners of her mouth and the obvious smile in her eyes betrayed her. Realizing that Li Jie had noticed, Xiao Qiao no longer concealed herself and stared at Li Jie with bold and curious eyes. "Li Jie, you seem to know me very well. It's not like we understand each other, I just know that you are not a good girl," Li Jie said. Xiao Qiao smiled and said, "I really hate being a good girl. They always tell you that you are a good boy, so you can't do this or that, but why should I always live by other people's standards? Why should we live by other people's standards?" Li Jie didn't answer. In fact, the vast majority of people live in a worldly perspective, always catering to other people's ideas consciously or unconsciously and drowning themselves. Others are building new houses, so I want to build them, even if they sell iron, I want to build them. When others buy cars, I want to buy them too, even if I borrow money to buy them. And when you go against the secular concept, you become an alternative and become the target of people's verbal criticism. It's not about right or wrong, it's just because you're a heretic. Xiao Qiao's idea cannot be wrong, but it cannot be right either. There is nothing wrong with not submitting to the world, but using this as a reason to rebel is questionable. It's just that Li Jie won't blame anything for this. It's other people's right to choose and do what they want. As long as it doesn't violate the law, otherwise, what's the difference between him and those who stand on the moral high ground and accuse others? Xiao Qiao took his hand out of Li Jie's, with a sly smile on his face. "Li Jie, it seems that you haven't confessed to me yet, why don't you confess now?" Li Jie smiled, looked at her and said, "Classmate Xiao Qiao, are you willing to be my girlfriend?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 33. Xiao Qiao thought for a while, then looked at Li Jie and shook his head gently, "I don't want to." Li Jie. Seeing Li Jie stunned, Xiao Qiao suddenly smiled narrowly, "Isn't your confession too perfunctory? Do you want to do it again?" Li Jie also smiled, "And let you reject me again?" Xiao Qiao pursed her lips, her eyes full of smiles, and finally couldn't help but laugh softly, revealing a small tiger tooth, her eyes moving, like a little fox charming all living beings. "Right." The two laughed for a while, and Xiao Qiao suddenly said, "Li Jie, actually you don't really like me, right?" Li Jie was silent for a few seconds and asked, "Why do you say that?" Xiao Qiao looked at him, smiled, and said, "It seems I guessed it right." Li Jie also smiled. "This Xiao Qiao is really smart. Yes or no, I do have a crush on you, although I can't say I like you yet." Then, Li Jie told the story between himself and Tan Hui, half truth and half lie. "But if you are willing to give me a chance, we might as well try to date." Li Jie's confession was very insincere, but he didn't intend to lie to Xiao Qiao. If she really refused, he would go after Shen Xinyi again. The first step in learning to be a scumbag is to never hang yourself from a tree. After hearing this, Xiao Qiao said thoughtfully, "So, you are chasing me now just to get angry with her? You should tell the truth." "It's not out of anger." Li Jie shook his head gently. "I just want to prove that I deserve better. There is a very strange phenomenon. The more long-term single people are, the less people chase them. On the contrary, it is the scumbags who continue to have good luck, because people like competition and like to prove their charm in the competition." "And make her regret it," Xiao Qiao chuckled. "How childish." Xiao Qiao said this, but she felt a little happy in her heart. Li Zhe's words that she deserves better showed that she was better than Tan Hui in his heart. You think I'm prettier than her? Li Zhe was stunned. What was Xiao Jiao thinking? Of course, you must be more beautiful. He was not stupid, of course he knew what to say at this time. Xiao Jiao pursed her lips, and her smile became brighter, but she said stubbornly, but why should I help you? Is there any benefit? Li Zhe looked at the girl in front of him, and a word flashed in his mind, welcome or reject. He suddenly put his arm around Xiao Jiao's waist, held her in front of him, lowered his head and kissed her gently on the lips, then stared at her, chuckled and said, how about this benefit? Xiao Jiao's cheeks were slightly red, and she struggled to break away from Li Zhe's arms. She pretended to be angry and said, what's the benefit? You are taking advantage of me, okay? It's so dirty. As she spoke, she spat and wiped her mouth again, looking disgusted. Too dirty? Even though he knew she was joking, Li Zhe couldn't help but blush. Isn't it dirty? Then I want to kiss her more. Li Zhe pretended to be angry and reached out to grab her again. Xiao Jiao smiled and avoided, no. The two were arguing for a while, then Xiao Jiao stopped and let Li Zhe hug her again. Li Zhe, I can promise you that we can have a temporary relationship. Temporary? Yes, temporarily, you are just my temporary boyfriend. If you don't perform well, I will expel you at any time, Xiao Jiao said with a smile. Okay, then I will try my best to become a regular employee as soon as possible, Li Zhe also said with a smile. Wait a minute, I'm not done yet. Xiao Jiao added, there are conditions. What conditions? Li Zhe asked. Xiao Jiao chuckled and said in a deep voice, I haven't thought about the 3 conditions yet, but you must promise me that whenever I put them forward, you will fulfill them. Don't worry, these 3 conditions must be yours. Do whatever you can. Faint. President Jiao, do you think you are Zhao Min? 3 more conditions. Li Zhe complained in his heart, but on the outside he nodded happily and said, okay, I agree. He would not be as pedantic and honest as Zhang Wuji. When faced with difficult requests, he would at most act dishonestly. Xiao Jiao seemed to see what he was thinking, and said suspiciously, you agreed so happily, you don't want to cheat, do you? Li Zhe twitched the corner of his mouth, smiled sarcastically and said, how could that be? Xiao Jiao stared at him, if you regret it, you are not. Maybe she thought it was a bit too harsh, so she changed her tune and said, you are just a puppy, you have to learn how to bark like a dog. Li Zhe pretended to hesitate for a moment before nodding. Can. Seeing that Li Zhe agreed, Xiao Jiao showed a bright smile on his face. It's a deal. It's a deal. Li Zhe thought for a while and said, Xiao Jiao, since I am your temporary boyfriend now, should I give you some boyfriend treatment? What kind of treatment? Xiao Jiao pretended not to understand. What I mean is this. Li Zhe's big hand caressed her slender waist. Xiao Jiao knocked off Li Zhe's mischievous hand and said coquettishly, you are a temporary worker, you only have obligations and no benefits. No way, it's so miserable, Li Zhe shouted to Chu. It's so miserable, why don't you do it? Do it, of course. Girls all asked him if he wanted to do it anymore. How could Li Zhe say no? Although Xiao Jiao said that she would not give any benefits, she acquiesced to Li Zhe's actions of holding his little hand and occasionally hugging her slim waist. He was able to reach first base on the first date, and Li Zhe even sneaked into second base once. Such progress has been rapid. In fact, both of them knew very well that the so-called temporary couple was just an excuse to try dating each other and break up at any time. After all, neither of them is sure whether they really like each other. Li Zhe was motivated by what he saw, and Xiao Jiao was just curious about love. Both of them lacked a feeling of excitement. Li Zhe took Xiao Jiao's hand and sat down on a bench by the roadside. Li Zhe, when did you notice me? Xiao Jiao asked curiously. Li Jie was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "Don't you remember? We met on the first day of school." Seeing that she hadn't responded yet, he reminded her again, on the school bus for welcoming new students. "So it's you," Xiao Jiao suddenly realized. "I'm sorry, you are a bit different from back then." "I didn't recognize you." Xiao Jiao looked at Li Jie carefully, as if he was still not convinced that he was the same person as the rustic boy on the school bus. Li Jie smiled carelessly. He was indeed too ordinary at that time, making it difficult for people to notice and remember him. Just like if he hadn't been reborn, it would be difficult for him to have the courage to pursue her. Li Jie suddenly remembered a poisonous chicken soup sentence on the internet in later generations: "If I hadn't been young and had never seen the world and didn't understand anything, otherwise you wouldn't be able to catch me in the next life." It has to be said that after entering the era of traffic, it is becoming easier and easier for women to realize their beauty. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 34. A slightly pretty woman, as long as she has some means, will have no shortage of liquors to give money to. It doesn't matter if you don't look good, you can still get plastic surgery. This makes it more and more difficult for men to pursue women. The costs they need to pay are getting higher and higher, and the rewards they get are getting lower and lower. Even if you try your best to lick someone's hand, you still have to worry about whether the other person will run away with someone else or whether a green hat will suddenly appear on his head. Li Jie looked at Xiao Jiao next to him. In future generations, this girl would definitely be the goddess in the hearts of countless licking dogs, but now he had easily caught her. Li Jie couldn't help but secretly sigh, this era is better. However, as a boyfriend, Li Jie felt that he had the obligation to let Xiao Jiao gain more experience, so that she would not be easily deceived by other men in the future. "Xiao Jiao." Li Jie stared at Xiao Jiao's pretty face with fiery eyes. "What do you want to do?" "I'm warning you, don't have any crooked thoughts," Xiao Jiao warned him with a smile. He just said he was rejecting, but there was a hint of coaxing and teasing in his tone and look. A sentence flashed in Li Jie's mind: smart hunters often appear as prey. It seems that President Jiao is somewhat knowledgeable now. He chuckled lightly, held Xiao Jiao's face with both hands, lowered his head and kissed her lips. Different from the last time, he kissed her very passionately. Xiao Jiao struggled a little and began to respond enthusiastically. "Li Jie is here." The kiss between the two was very long and passionate. Compared to Li Jie, who was experienced and skillful in prying open her teeth and conquering the city, Xiao Jiao was extremely immature and could only respond clumsily. Fortunately, she learned quickly and started to counterattack after a while. Suddenly, a burst of laughter came from the side, interrupting the two of them. Only then did Li Jie let go of Xiao Jiao. Both of them were panting slightly. Xiao Jiao's cheeks were red and water seemed to drip from his eyes. It turned out to be two girls passing by. When they noticed that they were making out, they couldn't help but laugh out loud. Seeing Li Jie cast his gaze over, the two girls quickly ran away with a smile. "How do you feel? Do you still think my saliva is dirty?" Li Jie looked at Xiao Jiao with a smile and said jokingly. Xiao Jiao's eyes flashed with a cunning and mischievous look, and he sighed, "It feels like being gnawed by a pig." "Well, it's disgusting." "Ugh." As she said that, she made a show of vomiting a few times. Li Jie couldn't help but his face darkened, and his forehead was covered with black lines. It seems that instead of calling her President Jiao, she should be called Jiao Don Dun. Seeing Li Jie's face turn dark, Xiao Jiao couldn't help but laugh. "You say I'm a pig, right? Come and let the pig eat a few more bites." Li Jie became angry and reached out to catch her again, but Xiao Jiao dodged with a smile. "Don't try to take advantage of me again, goodbye." Xiao Jiao picked up the bouquet on the side, stood up and ran away. Li Jie looked at her retreating back and couldn't help but smile. President Jiao is too shy. After Xiao Jiao ran away, she turned around and found that Li Jie was still looking at her from a distance. She couldn't help but feel a little sweet in her heart. She felt that her face was so hot that she couldn't help but reach out and touch it. It was indeed very hot. Is this what it feels like to be in love? Xiao Jiao returned to the dormitory holding the roses and was immediately surrounded by her roommates. Xiao Jiao, have you agreed? Zhang Yu glanced at the roses in Xiao Jiao's arms and said, there's no need to ask. I've got the roses back, so I must have agreed. Zhang Qiang asked, Xiao Jiao, are you and Li Jie really together? Xiao Jiao chuckled and nodded, we decided to try dating. At this time, a girl named Lu Li in the dormitory interjected, I didn't expect that Song Qinjiao turned out to be a playboy. Fortunately, Li Jie exposed it. Zhang Qian was also very angry when Lu Li mentioned Song Qinjiao. That is, if you have a girlfriend and dare to provoke our little Jiao, don't let me see the scum again, otherwise I will beat him every time I see him. That is to say, the word scumbag is not popular yet, otherwise Zhang Qian would definitely call him a scumbag. Bai Wei suddenly said, Xiao Jiao, since you are with Li Jie, why don't you bring him out for us to see him so that we can check on you? Yes, find an opportunity for us to meet, Zhang Qian agreed. Tonight I found out that Li Jie is quite strong. He was particularly handsome when he was fighting against the boys from the physical education department. The corners of Xiao Jiao's mouth curled up slightly, and she couldn't help but feel happy when her roommate praised Li Jie. At the same time, Li Jie was also in the dormitory, accepting questioning from his roommates. Jizi, did you really catch him? Seeing Li Jie nod, He's Higang patted him on the shoulder and said something awesome. Yang Hao said, Brother Jie and Brother Jing both have girlfriends. Brother Gang and Brother Wang, now it's up to the three of us to see who can get out of singles first. He directly excluded Chen Baiun from the dormitory. As a native of Hongcheng, Chen Baiun was a maverick and could not play with anyone in the dormitory. Wang's Haihang said, I'm going to confess to Lu Kaiu tomorrow night. He was stimulated by Li Jie. Tomorrow is the Mid-Autumn Festival, and the class will hold a Mid-Autumn Festival party in the evening. It is also a good opportunity to express their support. He's Higang and Yang Hao both expressed their support. Wang's Haihang said to Li Jie again, Jizi, can you lend me your guitar? Li Jie said yes. He's Higang asked, Old Wang, do you also want to play and sing to express your love? Wang's Haiheng nodded. Yang Hao suggested, Brother Jie, please discuss with your sister-in-law to let their dormitory join our dormitory. In addition to my sister-in-law, Bai Wei and Zhang Yu are also beautiful women in their dormitory. I'll ask her if I get a chance, Li Jie said perfunctorily. As soon as Huo Lily returned to the dormitory, she said with a gossipy face, the latest news, Li Jie and Xiao Jiao are together. I just witnessed a wonderful show of two men fighting for a woman downstairs. Everyone in the dormitory was very interested in the subsequent development of the hero and heroine of the incident. Zhou Ziu asked curiously, Lily, how do you know? Huo Lily said mysteriously, someone saw them making out. Hearing this, several girls in the dormitory became interested. How are you so intimate? Asked a girl named Cao Xiaoqian. Huo Lily made a kissing gesture towards Cao Xiaoqian, and Cao Xiaoqian couldn't help but moan. Real? Huo Lily nodded affirmatively. These two are progressing too fast, another girl said. Seeing that several people in the dormitory were discussing Li Jie endlessly, Tan Hui couldn't help frowning and put down the book in her hand. Can you guys stop being so gossipy? Huo Lily smiled and said, Zai, your high school classmate has successfully confessed his love. What do you think? Tan Hui glanced at her calmly and said nonchalantly, I have told you that Li Jie and I are just ordinary classmates. His failure to confess has nothing to do with me. After saying that, she picked up the book and started reading again. But from her hands clenching the book, it could be seen that her mood was not as calm as she appeared. Huo Lily stuck out her tongue, looked at each other with several girls, and then she mouthed a sentence, Zia Y is angry. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 35. The venue for the Mid-Autumn Festival class gathering was set on a lawn near the gymnasium. At 7 o'clock in the evening, more than 30 students in the class were sitting on the grass. Various snacks and drinks, mooncakes and fruits, and a dozen cans of beer were placed among the spread tablecloths. Everyone plays games while eating, and the losing student has to perform a show. The game played is a very old-fashioned drumming and passing flowers. Once the drumming stops, whoever the flower falls on has to perform a show. In the first round, the loser was Youth League Secretary Chen Mengting. This girl reacted a little slowly. The drum stopped before she hurriedly threw the red scarf out. Under the cheers of the crowd, she stood up and sang a song by She. I do not want to grow up. Although the singing was mediocre, the performance was generous and there was no stage fright at all, which won everyone's applause. Several rounds of games were played next, and the loser was either forced or took the initiative to perform under the cheers of the crowd. However, when it was the turn of a particularly introverted girl, the opponent was extremely frightened and refused to stand when I came out to perform. My eyes were red and I was even about to cry. Upon seeing this, Lu Kaiu, the cultural committee member, stepped forward and offered to perform for the girl. Then they danced a dynamic modern dance. Lu Kaiu wears a pink cartoon short-sleeved t-shirt on her upper body and a pair of raw-edged denim shorts on her lower body. Her long, white, straight legs are perfectly exposed, and she is full of fitness. When it comes to dancing, these beautiful legs are the best benefits. The boys were all staring at it, and Li Jie couldn't help but stare a few more times. Although Xiao Qiao's legs were not bad, they were obviously inferior to Lu Kaiu's beautiful legs. He couldn't help but think of a word, the legs are playing with the new year. After Lu Kaiu finished her dance, everyone applauded very warmly. The boys even clapped and booed, saying they would dance again. It has to be said that some people are born to be protagonists, and Lu Kaiu is one of them. She is pure and beautiful, has a good figure, and has a bright and generous personality. Not only boys like this kind of girl, but girls also like her. Lu Kaiu smiled generously and said, I won't dance anymore. Let's let the talented student in our class, Li Jie, do it. As she said that, she turned her attention to Li Jie. Li Jie, come one. Everyone also started to boo. Li Jie took a piece of grapefruit and ate it while watching the excitement. Unexpectedly, he was late for eating the melon. He originally wanted to refuse, but the crowd couldn't agree, so he had to stand up and sang Paper is Short, Love is Long a cappella. But after singing, everyone still didn't let him go, saying that everyone had heard Paper is Short and Love is Long at the New Year party, and asked Li Jie to sing a new song. Fortunately, his cell phone rang and saved him. The call was from Xiao Qiao, asking where Li Jie was. Li Jie went to answer the phone, and Wang Haihang saw the opportunity and took the initiative to stand up and perform a song for everyone. Wang Haihang stood in the center holding the guitar, his eyes fell on Lu Kaiu on the side, and said, this song Transfer of Love is dedicated to someone present. Everyone immediately understood that Wang Haihang wanted to confess to Lu Kaiu, and the atmosphere suddenly became heated. He's Higang, Yang Hao and other boys clapped and cheered for Wang Haihang. Only the squad leader, Cheng Xiang from the capital, looked ugly. He was also Lu Kaiu's suitor, but he hadn't confessed to her yet, but Wang Haihang beat him to it. As a heroine, Lu Kaiu is extremely calm, her expression remains unchanged, and she always maintains a faint smile on her face. Wang Haihang strummed the guitar and sang, how many shop windows have I wandered around and how many hotels have I stayed in before I feel that separation is not unfair? Should feelings be used to browse or to treasure, so that every day will be unforgettable? Wang Haihang has a good voice, and he also grasped the rhythm of the song Transfer of Love well. For a while, everyone present fell silent and was immersed in the singing. Love never stops. If you want to go to the end of the world, you need to be brave. Don't be disappointed. It is for the most beautiful ordinariness. When the song ended, there was a burst of warm applause. Wang Zhaiheng breathed out a heavy breath and was very satisfied with his performance. He couldn't help but reveal a smug smile on his face. He took a large bouquet of roses from his higang and walked to Lu Kaiyu. Lu Kaiyu also stood up when he saw this. Wang Zhaiheng looked at the pure and beautiful girl in front of him, and his heart was extremely hot and excited. If the confession was successful, the girl would be his girlfriend. It would be very honorable to bring such a beautiful girl out. Li Jie was able to catch up with Xiao Jiao, but Wang Zhaiheng thought he was no worse than Li Jie, and Lu Kaiyu was no worse than Xiao Jiao, and even better in terms of figure. Wang Zhaiheng wanted to hand over the rose directly, but in order to increase his confidence, he hesitated and chose to kneel down on one knee. Kaiyu, since I first saw you, my heart can no longer be calm. I don't know if it was love at first sight. I only know that I really like you. I told myself in my heart that I must not miss you, otherwise I will regret it. For the rest of my life, please give me a chance to like you, and I will prove myself with actions. Although Wang Zhaiheng's confession was simple, his expression and tone were extremely sincere. In addition, he knelt down on one knee. Many girls present were moved by him and said, Kaiyu, promise him. He's Higang, Yang Hao and the other boys started to boo, promise him, promise him. Lu Kaiyu pressed her hand to signal everyone to stop making noises, then looked at Wang Zhaiheng who was kneeling in front of him and said, Wang Zhaiheng, you are very good, handsome, and talented. Wang Zhaiheng, who was dealt a good guy card, suddenly felt cold. As expected, Lu Kaiyu changed the subject. But you are not my type. If I agree to you rashly, I will be irresponsible not only to myself, but also to you. So I'm sorry, I can't agree to you. After speaking, Lu Kaiyu reached out and helped him up. Wang Zhaiheng stood up, but felt aggrieved. He really wanted to ask Lu Kaiyu what kind of person she liked, but in the face of her calm and peaceful smile, he did not ask after all. Wang Zhaiheng knew very well that this was just an excuse for Lu Kaiyu not to accept him. To be more serious would only bring humiliation to himself. Seeing that Wang Zhaiheng's confession failed, many girls sighed with regret. His Higang came over and patted his shoulder comfortingly. Wang Zhaiheng reluctantly smiled at him. Only Cheng Xiang snickered unkindly in his heart when he saw his love rival frustrated. After this incident, the atmosphere at the scene became obviously cooler. 10 minutes later, Li Jie led Xiao Jiao back and saw this indifferent scene. Xiao Jiao wore a big black t-shirt tonight, a pair of hot pants, and a pair of canvas shoes, showing off her beautiful legs. She had no makeup, only a little lipstick, long shawl hair, and bangs, looking extremely well behaved and pure. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 36. Sister-in-law is here. Yang Hao was very enthusiastic when he saw Xiao Jiao. Hello, Xiao Jiao responded. Then she smiled and said hello to everyone present. Hello everyone, my name is Xiao Jiao. The boys were called by random names. Some called them sister-in-law, some called them sister-in-law, and some called them Xiao Jiao directly. The girls are very curious about Xiao Jiao. After all, she is the heroine of the incident where two men competed for a woman. They are all curious about her charm. Now at first glance, she is just an ordinary girl, she just looks a little more innocent, pretty, and well behaved. Li Jie took Xiao Jiao's hand and found a seat to sit down. A girl came up to Lu Kaiu and whispered, "This Xiao Jiao is not as good looking as Kaiu. I don't know why she is so popular among boys and why Li Jie is so attracted to her." Lu Kaiu subconsciously glanced in the direction of Li Jie and found that Li Jie was peeling a grapefruit for Xiao Jiao. She said softly, "Don't talk nonsense." "What nonsense am I talking about?" the girl said unconvinced, "that Xiao Jiao is not as good as you. If nothing else, her figure is much worse than yours. I don't know why Li Jie likes airports." Sure enough, women understand women better, and this sentence struck a chord with Xiao Jiao. Another girl came over and whispered, "Speaking of which, Li Jie is indeed a good boyfriend candidate. He is handsome, his family is rich, he is talented, and more importantly, he is good to his girlfriend. It's a pity that Minko there is a master." The first girl said, "At first, I thought Li Jie would be with Kaiu." "Why do you say that?" another girl asked. "Because they are a perfect match. It's a pity that the girl from our Chinese class was snatched away by the girls from their tourism class." Regarding the discussion between the two girls, Lu Kaiu just smiled and did not express any opinions. At this time, another girl came over and said mysteriously, "Do you know, Li Jie has a high school female classmate named Tan Hui in the English department of our school. I heard that he came all the way from the northeast for her. To Hongcheng." Upon hearing such emotional gossip, not only did the two girls before become interested, but even Lu Kaiu's expression changed. Real or fake? Why aren't those two people together? Who knows? The girl who broke the news shook her head and said, "Maybe the two were together and then broke up. Maybe the girl named Tan Hui didn't like Li Jie. Even Li Jie looks down on him. What kind of vision does that Tan Hui have?" a girl sighed. Another girl said, "I think that girl is too heartless. Li Jie went all the way to Hongcheng for her. I would have been extremely moved, but she refused so cruelly." Lu Kaiu suddenly interjected, "I don't think it's necessarily that girl's fault, it's just that she doesn't like Li Jie." The girl who broke the news said, "Tell me, do you think Li Jie pursued Xiao Jiao because he was angry with Tan Hui? That shouldn't happen, right?" The other two girls looked at each other. If they thought about it this way, they would not envy Xiao Jiao so much. Li Jie handed the peeled grapefruit to Xiao Jiao, then glanced in the direction of Lu Kaiu and the other girls, and shook his head slightly. These girls didn't care to keep their voices down when gossiping about others. "Do you really think he has bad ears?" He could faintly hear the names of Xiao Jiao and Tan Hui. On the side, He's Higang was drinking with Wang's Haiheng, and Yang Hao suggested, "Brother Jie, since sister-in-law is here, why don't you also perform a show?" Li Jie looked at Xiao Jiao beside him and motioned for her to make a decision. Xiao Jiao didn't have stage fright, she smiled and said, "Then let me sing a song for everyone, Love Transfer by Eason Chan." By coincidence, she and Wang's Haiheng chose the same song. In fact, it is because not long after the movie Love Transfer was released, the theme song Love Transfer became popular. Seeing Xiao Jiao want to sing, everyone applauded. Yang Hao brought the guitar over and said, "Sister-in-law sings, Brother Jie, will you accompany me?" Li Jie said okay and took the guitar. Li Jie and Xiao Jiao looked at each other. Li Jie gently strummed the guitar, and Xiao Jiao also started singing at the same time. "How many shop windows have I wandered into, how many hotels have I stayed in?" How do you describe Xiao Jiao singing? Every line is in tune, the singing is very dedicated, and the voice itself is not bad, but the singing voice is really not that good. To sum it up in one sentence, he is a soul singer, very distinctive and not good to listen to. After the song was finished, everyone applauded symbolically. Only Yang Hao cheered loudly and received strange looks from everyone. The girl who broke the news said to Lu Kaiu and the others, "This is the first time I've seen someone sing so unpleasantly without being off-key." Seeing the awkward atmosphere at the scene, Xiao Jiao bit her lip, her eyes moved, She looked at Li Jie and asked with a smile, "How was my singing?" "Singing?" Looking at the threatening smile in Xiao Qiao's eyes, Li Jie paused and said, "It's very nice." Xiao Qiao then showed a satisfied look and let him go. A girl smiled and said, "Classmate Li Jie, do you feel guilty when you say this? Doesn't your conscience hurt?" "Yes, yes," these words immediately won the agreement of many girls. Li Jie smiled and didn't care. "The songs my girlfriend sings are definitely the best in my opinion." This disgusting love statement made many girls look like they couldn't stand it. One girl joked, "I didn't expect our classmate Li Jie to be a strict henwife." But Xiao Qiao was obviously very satisfied with Li Jie's answer. She enjoyed the feeling of being favored by others, and the smile on her face became brighter. She stared at Li Jie with a thought in her heart, stretched out her head, and touched him like a dragonfly. A peck on the lips. Then she immediately covered her face in embarrassment. The next moment, everyone started to make a fuss as if a pot had exploded, and many people screamed, "Can you please stop showing off your affection like this? Please, could you please consider how we singles feel?" The boys didn't take it too seriously and clamored for Li Jie and Xiao Qiao to kiss again. Among them, Cheng Xiang was the one who made the most noise. When he noticed Wang Haiheng's jealous and ugly expression, he felt even more comfortable. However, Li Jie has no hobby of showing intimacy in front of others. The crowd calmed down after a long commotion. At this time, Cheng Xiang said, "Sister-in-law has finished singing. Let's ask brother Jie to sing another one. Why don't we sing Transfer of Love again?" His Hegeng couldn't help but frowned. Just now Wang Haiheng failed to confess his love to Lu Kaiyu by singing Love Transfer. Now Cheng Xiang asked Li Jie to sing Love Transfer. It was obviously with bad intentions and was slapping Wang Haiheng in the face, so he said, "Love Transfer has just been sung, so stop singing it. Jizi, please sing something else. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn." Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 37. Li Jie went to pick up Xiao Qiao before and missed Wang Haiheng's confession scene. He didn't even know that he sang Love Transfer to express his love. However, after returning from everyone's reaction, he realized that Wang Haiheng's confession should have failed. Li Jie thought for a while and said, "Then I will sing an adapted version of Love Transfer." He had an idea and remembered a cover version of Love Transfer that he liked to listen to. Seeing that Li Jie was about to sing, everyone was very considerate and applauded. Xiao Qiao smiled and made a very cute gesture of making friends with him, saying, "Come on. She has a sweet smile and is as playful and cute as the girl next door." Li Jie smiled at her, picked up the guitar again, and said, "A song called China Keeps Turning is dedicated to everyone." After speaking, Li Jie gently plucked the strings, and the tune flowed out like flowing water. It was still the tune of Love Transfer, but the words changed when he spoke. The ice peaks of Zhuala melted. Used traces outline China. The picture has never seen the years that have passed by. Carve the deed on the tortoise shell. Reviving the old story of sericulture. Feng left Kishan and flew to the Makino battlefield. Jixia, bustling with hundreds of families. Nurturing budding ideas. Bamboo slips reflect the culture of the past and present. The tyrant who fought for several generations. Wolf smoke died in the sand. The Taoists of Qin recited those immortal laws. What's the difference between a slave prince and a prince? The Great Wall collapsed. The end of the hero brings a new world. Who returns alone with white hair? Camel bells flow to Rome. Across the desert and the vast sea, the place where horses drink is home. Sparks of green forest and red eyebrows. Burning fire sets thousands of families ablaze. There are stories about Yan Ran and Yan Ran who joined the army. The appearance of killing a snake and turning it into a snake. The dynasty finally became a dead painting. After all, the hero's past is a wave of chaos. Who composes a poem? When will Chenglong look into the distance? Look at the many talented people from Jiangnan who live in the Yangtze River. How long is the northern expedition? Let revival be empty talk. Abandoning fame for a moment of relaxation in the bamboo forest. The rise and fall is a flash in the pan that cannot be touched by the cold current of sadness. The meat-eating family has fallen into ruin. Even if you swallow your anger and throw a whip, you will force yourself to do so. Wait for Xiaoan to return to the Central Plains and spend the summer together. The 6 dynasties are like flowing water, great achievements and several glorious years. Just go with Kanjian. Everyone present was immersed in Li Zhe's slightly magnetic singing voice, and there was no more noise. Even many passers-by were attracted by the singing and subconsciously stopped and gathered around. The short songs turned into majestic pictures that unfolded in everyone's minds. From the thorny road of ancient ancestors, to the hardships of Dao in controlling floods, to the cultural feast of 100 schools of thought contending, to the heroic spirit of King Qin to conquer the world. Everyone seems to have stepped into the 5,000-year history of China, witnessing the rotation of time and the changes of the times. Chang'an, closed by the 9 heavens, and all nations share the view of Zhengguan. The world of sages and sages wrote several more stories in the Buddhist world. In this prosperous age, one city will eventually fall and save the country. Several revivals finally failed in the dying flowers. The poet drinks wine to celebrate his prime years. This past year has been picturesque. Who dust swallows up the sunset in the Shanghe River picture? Replace your pen and ink with iron armor and rekindle it from the ashes. Zhu Xian looks at Huang Long from a distance and hates that the national humiliation is not over yet. Travel to Mobei Yinlin outside the Great Wall. In the Liao, Jin, and Xia eras, they joined a family together. The remaining scrolls where Jin Ji sank into the sand are engraved with light. Determine and rejuvenate the country from Artemisia terrestris. The great ceremony collection of the 8 wildernesses of heaven and earth. How many friendships are made by sailing and last all over the world. Guarding the mighty East China Sea. Who wields a spear and breaks 100,000 pieces of armor. The people's hearts in Zays who were overwhelmed by the temple. The years of indulging in Kangqian. The world has been turned upside down. Energetic young people. Breaking the shackles of the nation and reshaping China. Turn rough terrain into smooth rivers. After tens of thousands of miles of hardships. How many heroes will stay forever in this world? People from Uexierguan Mandeo. Where are they now? Only the prosperous age is left, and tens of millions of guangsha are built. 5,000. But a fleeting moment in the universe. How many more volumes have Dragon Totem written? People rush for revival. Thousands of people gather together to create hope. After all the changes. Here lies the meaning of our past existence. Time is flowing, China's annual rings keep turning. Another 5,000 years. The song China Keeps Turning has been written for 5,000 years. From ancient ancestors to modern China, countless heroes have fought their entire lives to protect this land of China and the entire Chinese nation. After Li Zhe's singing ended, the scene was quiet for almost 10 seconds before a burst of extremely warm applause broke out, and the cheers were endless. The adaptation is great. I think it's even better than the original song. Indeed, the lyrics are so artistic, and they can be traced back to the past 5,000 years. Jizi, you are so damn talented, He's Higang swore directly. Xiao Qiao excitedly threw herself into Li Zhe's arms as soon as he finished singing. Li Zhe, did you write this word yourself? Lu Kaiu looked at Li Zhe with a strange light flashing in his eyes. Li Zhe nodded, that's right. I also borrowed many famous sayings from my predecessors. That's very impressive, Lu Kaiu smiled, the admiration in his eyes undiminished. Jizi, brother Buhi, I, Cheng Xiang, admire talented people. Unlike some people who only know how to be cool, Cheng Xiang said, glanced in the direction of Wang's Haiheng, and found that the other party had already left, and sneered in his heart. There was a sound. Li Jie, would you like to sing another song? Yes, one more. Many people felt it was not enough and clamored for Li Jie to sing another song. However, Li Jie doesn't plan to sing anymore. Seeing that Li Jie was unmoved, someone took the idea of Xiao Jiao. Xiao Jiao, would you like Li Jie to sing another song? Sister-in-law, let brother Jie sing another song. Seeing this, Xiao Jiao looked at Li Jie, who looked at her and shook his head slightly. Xiao Jiao pouted dissatisfiedly. Yang Hao said from the side, Sister-in-law, we are all counting on you. Cheng Xiang also said, Sister-in-law, it depends on whether brother Jie listens to you or not. Xiao Jiao thought for a while, then looked at Li Jie and looked aggrieved, and said coquettishly, Li Jie, just sing one more song, okay. Seeing that Li Jie still didn't agree, she simply grabbed his arm and shook him. Even if you sing it to me, okay, okay. Look, they all call me sister-in-law, why am I so embarrassed not to help? Li Jie looked at Xiao Jiao in front of him, acting coquettishly, showing off his cuteness, pretending to be pitiful and doing whatever he could, and couldn't help but smile. What bad thoughts can Xiao Jiao have? She just likes to act coquettishly and tease you to the point where you can't stop. The girl who broke the news before couldn't help but take a breath, touched her arm, and said to Lu Kaiyu, I finally know what Li Jie likes about her. This Xiao Jiao is so good at acting coquettishly. It makes my skin crawl. The other two girls also nodded in sympathy. Li Jie took his arm out of Xiao Jiao's hand and said with a smile, okay, stop shaking, I'll sing the head office. Who can say no to President Jiao? Xiao Jiao curled his lips and showed a victorious smile. Sister-in-law, you are awesome. It's better for my sister-in-law to talk. He's again condemned, Jizi, you are too focused on sex but not on friends. Xiao Jiao retorted, what's wrong with paying more attention to sex than friends? We girls like boys who pay more attention to sex than friends. If a boy no longer values sex, there must be something wrong with his body. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 38. Ahem, Li Jie coughed twice quickly. This Jiao was actually driving in front of everyone. At this time, Xiao Jiao also realized that he had said the wrong thing, so he covered his mouth and turned red with shame. He explained in a subtle way, that's not what I meant. But everyone has already exploded. Sister-in-law, don't explain. Explanation is just a cover-up. Yes, we all understand. Okay, stop making trouble, Li Jie said to calm down the atmosphere. This song is called Why Not and is dedicated to our cutest little Zhou. Some girls found fault and said, Xiao Jiao is the cutest, so aren't we cute? Li Jie smiled and said, you are not my girlfriend. In my eyes, Xiao Jiao must be the cutest. Li Jie, you are so disgusting. Xiao Jiao replied, single people are not qualified to be sexy. Li Jie did not stand up to sing this time, but just sat on the grass, stared at Xiao Jiao beside him, started to strum the guitar, and sang softly. The sky really wants to rain. I really want to live next door to you. Standing stupidly downstairs of your house. Raise your head and count the dark clouds. If a piano appears in the scene, I will sing to you. While Li Jie was singing, he also interacted with Xiao Jiao with his eyes. Xiao Jiao's expression was rich and cute. Sometimes he put his hands together and his eyes were full of admiration, sometimes he bit his red lips, shy and charming, sometimes his eyes were lively and cute. What a president! When he was just starting out, people were so impressed. It's great to have a boyfriend who can sing, a girl exclaimed. Lu Kai watched the sweet interaction between Li Jie and Xiao Jiao, and she had to say that she felt a little envious of Xiao Jiao in her heart. Thaw the glacier for you and be a moth to the fire for you. Nothing is not worth it. There is no style in singing this song for you. It just means I want you to be happy. Tossing and turning for you, why not give up the world for you? The coolness of late summer and autumn brings a little warmth and the colors of the changing seasons. After finishing the song, he won a round of warm applause from everyone. In the following time, everyone played for a while, and at 9 o'clock, the party was over. Everyone simply cleaned up the place, then said goodbye and went back to the dormitory. Li Jie said to Xiao Jiao, "Let's go, I'll take you back." The two of them were walking on the tree-lined path of the campus. Li Jie looked at Xiao Jiao beside him and naturally put his arms around her waist. Not far away, Tan Hui looked at the two people's closeness. Her expression was indescribably complicated. Their class's mid-autumn festival party had just ended. Unexpectedly, they met Li Jie and Xiao Jiao on their way back to the dormitory. Reason told Tan Hui that she and Li Jie had nothing to do with each other, but for some reason when she saw this scene, she still felt some unspeakable loss and sorrow in her heart. "Zai, what are you thinking about?" Huo Lily and Zhou Ziu, who were walking with Tan Hui, noticed that she suddenly stopped and couldn't help but be surprised and followed her gaze. "It's Li Jie and Xiao Jiao," Huo Lily said unexpectedly. Li Jie sent Xiao Jiao downstairs to the dormitory. Xiao Jiao looked at him and said with a smile, "Then I'll go back to the dormitory." Li Jie pointed to his cheek. "Kiss me before you leave." Xiao Jiao thought for a moment and nodded. "Okay, but you have to close your eyes." Li Jie smiled and closed his eyes obediently. Xiao Jiao walked up to him, stood on tiptoes, and slowly brought his red lips to Li Jie's face, and they could hear their breathing. Xiao Jiao stared at Li Jie's angular face, and suddenly a naughty smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He blew a breath on his face, then turned around and ran away. But unexpectedly, Li Jie stretched out his hand and caught him. Li Jie opened his eyes and looked at Xiao Jiao with a smile. How could he not guess her little thoughts? "You broke your promise, then I have no choice but to do it myself." After saying that, he hugged Xiao Jiao's waist tightly and kissed her red lips. After a deep kiss, Li Jie let Xiao Jiao go until she was almost out of breath. After watching Xiao Jiao walk into the dormitory, he turned and left. When I returned to the dormitory, I saw that He's Higang, Yang Hao and Lin Jing were all back, but Wang's Haiheng was not there. Seeing that Li Jie had also returned, He's Higang said, "Jizi, you sent Xiao Jiao back to the dormitory." Li Jie nodded and asked Yang Hao to step away from the computer and prepare to climb to the starting point to take a look. "To be honest, Xiao Jiao is really good. Jizi, since you are with others, you should treat them well." It was obvious that He's Higang had a good impression of Xiao Jiao. In fact, girls like Xiao Jiao are indeed attracted to boys. They are lively, naughty, informal, capable of making jokes, and can easily mingle with boys. However, in the eyes of girls, she will feel that she is very teasing. As for whether he can stay with Xiao Jiao for a long time, Li Jie is not sure. Girls like Xiao Jiao are like cats and like to pursue novelty. The prerequisite for her to like you is to make her feel curious and interesting. Once she loses love for you, interest will leave you sooner or later. After the 3-day Mid-Autumn Festival holiday, normal study life resumed. With the addition of a girlfriend, Li Jie, in addition to attending classes and coding, also takes time to spend with Xiao Jiao every day. The two go on dates, usually in the evening. Li Jie is coding in the classroom, and Xiao Jiao sits next to him to accompany him. Xiao Jiao couldn't bear her temper. She felt bored watching Li Jie code, and she couldn't learn by herself. So she kept pestering Li Jie to talk, causing his coding speed to plummet. "Sure enough, women only affect my coding speed." Li Jie glanced at Xiao Jiao, who was listlessly flipping through a book while coding. "This President Jiao is a real scumbag. He loses energy when he reads." To be able to pass the exam with a second grade is probably because of his strict control at home. Although his girlfriend will influence Li Zhe's coding, it is impossible for him to give up his girlfriend for coding. He's not one of those idiots who gives up his girlfriend just to be effective. Code words are not as important as girlfriends. In this life, people just want to have 3 meals a day. Although Li Zhe currently only has 3 meals, he can at least play some intimate games with Xiao Jiao every day, which is considered a privileged person. After finishing coding another chapter, Li Zhe saved the chapter, then took out his earphones and plugged them into his laptop. He inserted one earphone himself and handed the other earphone to Xiao Jiao. "Aren't you a little bored? Let's watch a movie together." "Have you finished writing your novel?" Xiao Jiao cheered up. Li Zhe said with a smile, "As long as I want to write a novel, I will never finish it, but I will always find time to spend with my girlfriend." The corners of Xiao Jiao's lips curled up slightly, and he said with an angry smile, "You can say nice things to fool me." Li Zhe opened the web page and found a movie called Apple by Fan Xiaopeng. This movie was released in May this year and had already been released. The most attractive thing about Apple is the several passionate scenes in which Fan Xiaopeng devotes himself, and Li Zhe also deliberately found the uncut version. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 39. However, although it is said to be a passionate scene, there are actually no revealing scenes. Just watching people fight is much more interesting than watching robots fight. That's right, Li Zhe is talking about Transformers. Transformers 1 was released in July this year. Li Zhe didn't think Xiao Jiao would be interested in robot fighting either. Speaking of which, for Li Zhe, entertainment is really lacking in this era. Without smartphones, he can no longer watch short videos. Not to mention the beautiful ladies who have made their faces look good, many entertainment contents are also outdated. What others see as new movies, new TV series, and new novels are all old movies, old TV series, and old novels in Li Zhe's eyes. For example, Li Zhe has watched the movie Apple at least 2 or 3 times. The two of them watched the movie together. Xiao Jiao rested his head on Li Zhe's shoulder and looked at it more seriously, but Li Zhe's heart was not at all in the movie. The hand he held around Xiao Jiao's waist reached under the t-shirt and stroked her smooth and delicate skin. Li Zhe's hand caressed Xiao Jiao's waist and abdomen for a while. Seeing that she didn't respond, he took a step further and moved his hand up tentatively. Just when he was about to succeed, he was pressed down. Xiao Jiao smiled, rolled her eyes at him, and whispered, "Don't make trouble, and watch the movie." There were self-study students in the classroom, although there were not many. There were only 6 or 7 people sitting in a large classroom, but the two of them tried to lower their voices when talking to avoid disturbing others. Watching a movie is not as fun as having a girlfriend. The plot of the movie soon came to the scene of Lu Pingguo and her husband Enkun in the bathroom. Seeing Lu Pingguo and Enkun lingering in the bathroom, Xiao Jiao couldn't help but feel a little hot on her face, and looked at her with a meaningful look. As if to say, "Did you show me this on purpose?" Li Zhe made an innocent expression. Xiao Jiao smiled and curled her lips, "As if I believe you and I are fools." Seeing Li Zhe's eyes fixed on Lu Pingguo, Xiao Jiao bit her lower lip, her eyes moved, and whispered in his ear, "Does Fan Binbin have a good figure?" Indeed, Li Zhe nodded subconsciously. After saying that, I noticed her expression. "Is she in better shape than me?" Xiao Jiao smiled dangerously. "That's true." "Hey, why are you pinching me?" Li Zhe shouted softly. It turned out that Xiao Jiao reached out and pinched his thigh hard. Xiao Jiao snorted softly, "Who told you to say that I have a bad figure?" "President Jiao, am I telling you that you are in poor shape? Is this a fact?" Li Jie complained secretly in his heart. Xiao Jiao asked curiously, Li Jie, do you guys like girls with particularly good figures? This is a gift question. Li Jie said vaguely, most boys probably like it. What about you? Xiao Jiao asked, staring at him with a smile. Of course I'm not a superficial person, Li Jie said righteously. I like you like this. You know what's going on. Although she felt that Li Jie was trying to coax her, Xiao Jiao was still very satisfied with what he said. Li Jie's eyes glanced at Xiao Jiao's chest, feeling a little regretful. A pair of A's, I can't afford it. President Jiao has a pretty face, and she is above 8 points even without makeup. If she put on makeup and dressed up, she would be a 9-point beauty, but it is a pity that she is too flat, which seriously lowers her overall level. In the eyes of many people, she may only have 8 points at most. Of course, aesthetics are different, and it depends more on personal preference. For example, in Li Jie's eyes, Xiao Jiao is a 9. He still values appearance more than figure. Li Jie thought for a moment and said, it's National Day soon, shall we go out and play together then? After the Mid-Autumn Festival, it is actually the National Day holiday again in a few days. At this time, the National Day holiday is still 7 days. Okay, Xiao Jiao said with great interest. Where to play? Go to the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Going to the Shanghai Stock Exchange, Xiao Jiao looked surprised. When ordinary students in the school go out during holidays, they mostly go to the city or nearby attractions. Maishan, for example, is the most visited place. But Li Jie wanted to go to Shanghai, which is more than 1,000 miles away. Isn't it too far to go to Shanghai? Xiao Jiao said hesitantly. It will take 2 days to ride back and forth. Otherwise, I will go to the city or Maishan to have fun. The distance was just a superficial reason. The main reason was that they were traveling to other places and the two of them would definitely have to stay outside. This was still a little too fast for Xiao Jiao. After all, she and Li Jie had only been dating for less than a week. Li Jie said with a smile, the distance is not a problem. We take a plane. It only takes less than 2 hours to fly from Hongcheng to Shanghai, which is very fast. Flying on a plane, Xiao Jiao was a little excited. In this day and age, flying is considered a luxury for ordinary students, and she has never flown before. But she still hesitated. How could Li Jie fail to see Xiao Jiao's concerns? To be honest, it would be inappropriate to take her on a trip to other places now. It seemed like he was too impatient and ordinary girls might be frightened. However, it is true that he went to the Shanghai stock market for something. After thinking about it, Li Jie decided to locate his upcoming web game company in Shanghai. First-tier cities like Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen are more suitable for starting a business. Of course, for the convenience of management, he can set up another branch in Hongcheng. Therefore, it is imperative for Li Jie to go to the Shanghai stock market this time. But he went to Shanghai, so he couldn't leave Xiao Jiao in Hongcheng. After all, it's outrageous for two people to just ignore each other during their first holiday together. Therefore, the best way is to take Xiao Jiao along and accompany her to play in Shanghai. This way, business and private matters can be balanced. However, if Xiao Jiao really didn't want to go, Li Jie wouldn't force him. Then, Li Jie briefly explained the matter and assured that the two of them would sleep in separate rooms. After hearing this, Xiao Jiao thought for a while and said, in other words, even if I don't go, you will definitely go to the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Li Jie nodded and said, yes, in this case, I may not be able to spend this holiday with you. Let me think about it. Xiao Jiao did not give an answer for the time being. Being willing to consider it means there is hope. Li Jie still wants to take Xiao Jiao with him. If you go alone, it's for work, and if you have a girlfriend to accompany you, if you go with two, it's for fun. Don't worry, There are still a day or two. You can think about it slowly. Just tell me before the 30th so that I can book the tickets, Li Jie said. After watching the movie, it was already past 9 p.m. Li Jie accompanied Xiao Jiao for a walk around the school, and bought some fruits for her and her roommates at the fruit stall at the entrance of Zionan, and then sent her back dormitory. During this period, Li Jie didn't bully her anymore. They had just been together for a few days, and if he was too impatient, it would look like he was just greedy for her body. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 40. Although he is indeed greedy. Li Jie's current body is 18 or 19 years old, which is when he is young and restless. In addition, he is already an old driver in his mind. It is impossible not to have wrong thoughts when he is with Xiao Jiao. But girls are emotional after all, and prefer the hazy ambiguity. If it is too direct, it will only make them feel disgusted. Xiao Jiao returned to the dormitory carrying a large bag of fruit. Zhang Qiang saw it and asked, "Did Li Jie buy the fruit again?" Yes, Xiao Jiao nodded and divided the fruit among his roommates. Ever since Xiao Jiao had a boyfriend, our dormitory has never been short of food. Li Jie fed our entire dormitory by himself, Bai Wei said with a smile. In the past few days, every time Xiao Jiao came back from a date with Li Jie, she would bring snacks or fruits, and she didn't like to eat much, so she shared all the food with her roommates. How about having a rich boyfriend? Zhang Yu said with unspeakable envy. After lights out at 11 p.m., several girls were lying on the bed chatting. Zhang Yu asked, "It's National Day in 2 days. Where are you going to play?" "I'm going to Maishan." Zhang Qiang said, "I'm not going anywhere, just in the dormitory." Bai Wei said, "I don't know where to go. I might go shopping in the city." The other two girls also said they would go play or stay at school. Only Xiao Jiao remained silent. Zhang Yu asked, "Xiao Jiao, where are you and Li Jie going to play?" This was what she cared about most. Xiao Jiao said softly, "Li Jie asked me to go to the Shanghai Stock Exchange." Shanghai Stock Market, the other girls were surprised. Li Jie said that he had to go to Shanghai for something and wanted to take me with him. "Did you promise him?" Zhang Qiang asked. Xiao Jiao shook his head slightly and said, "I haven't decided yet. I don't know whether I should agree or not." Zhang Qiang said, "Li Jie is an ordinary student. What important matter can he have? I think he just found a reason to trick you out. You can't go. You have only known each other for a few days, and he wants to take you to spend the night. I think he's just here to take advantage." Li Jie said, "We will live separately when the time comes," Xiao Jiao emphasized. But Zhang Qiang said that a man's words are very deceptive. Now that he says they will live separately, it won't be true if you actually go out with him. Bai Wei asked, "Did Li Jie say you did anything in Shanghai?" Xiao Jiao said, "He said he was going to do something, but I didn't ask carefully." Bai Wei thought for a while and said, "I think you should ask clearly before making a decision, but I don't recommend you to go. After all, you and Li Jie have only known each other for a short time. It's still a little early and you want to go out to play. You can find another opportunity in the future." At this time, Zhang Yu said, "Actually, it doesn't matter if you agree. Even if you live together, Li Jie can't force you if you don't want to, so there's no need to worry too much." One of the other two girls in the dormitory, one named Lu Li, said, "A man and a woman are alone in the same room. What should I do if Li Jie really forces me?" "Yes," another girl, Shen Man, also agreed. Zhang Yu laughed directly. "Haha, don't you understand this? As long as a woman resists something like that, it's very difficult for a man to succeed." Lu Li didn't believe it and said, "According to what you said, how could you succeed in raping someone?" Bai Wei said in a complicated tone, "That's because the victim's life was threatened, so he was afraid and did not dare to resist." Hearing this, several girls fell silent. This topic is a bit heavy. After all, women are physically weaker than men. After a while, Jang Kyung said, "If anyone dares to force me, I will definitely fight him to the death." Phew, Jang Yu suddenly laughed. "Jang Yu, what are you laughing at? You really want to know?" "Nonsense, tell me. I think your worries are a little unfounded." Jang Kyung was stunned for a moment, then immediately became angry when he realized it. "Jang Yu, I think you are looking for death." She threw the pillow at Jang Yu, and Jang Yu caught the pillow with a smile. "Thank you for the pillow. It's just right for both of us to sleep on together. I don't think it's too much." These two people are naturally rebellious and often fight over trivial matters in the dormitory. However, after the two people started arguing, the atmosphere suddenly became more lively. Lu Li seemed to have thought of something and said to Jang Yu, "Jang Yu, you know so much, have you had experience?" Jang Yu smiled and said, "Yes," she admitted generously. "Really?" Lu Li sounded surprised. "What's so surprising about this?" Jang Yu said nonchalantly. "What girls have to go through sooner or later. Besides, I don't believe in our dormitory. I'm the only one who has experienced it." Jang Kyung said, "Tisk, you think everyone is the same as you." Jang Yu smiled and said, "I believe you must not." She added to Xiao Jiao, "If Xiao Jiao is so good, he must not be the same." "I'm not sure about the others." Lu Li quickly clarified. "I do not have either." Jang Yu asked, "Bai Wei and Shen Man don't talk, do you two have experience?" Bai Wei said helplessly, "Jang Yu, don't make blind guesses," but Shen Man remained silent. Jang Yu was a little surprised, as were Xiao Jiao and the other four. "Shen Man, have you really done this?" Shen Man hummed slightly and said, "I had a boyfriend in high school, but we broke up after graduating from high school." After a pause, she added, "Actually, it doesn't matter. Everyone has to have a boyfriend sooner or later. It is inevitable." Jang Kyung objected, "I don't agree with having sex before marriage. Girls always suffer from this kind of thing." Jang Yu chuckled, "Jang Kyung, do you really think that only boys think about this kind of thing? In fact, both men and women enjoy this kind of thing, right Shen Man? You haven't experienced it and don't understand it, so don't impose your ideas on others." Jang Kyung didn't believe it. "I don't want to. Do you think other girls are like you?" Jang Yu smiled and didn't bother to argue with Jang Kyung, a tomboy who didn't understand anything. "Jang Yu, is it really comfortable to do that kind of thing?" a female voice asked curiously. Jang Yu was stunned for a moment, because the person who asked her was Xiao Jiao, which surprised her. It seems that this Xiao Jiao is not as good as she appears. "Xiao Jiao, it's not easy for you to know. You also have a boyfriend now. You will know if you try it with Li Jie," Jang Yu encouraged. Jang Kyung scolded, "Jang Yu, Xiao Jiao is so good, don't lead her into trouble." After saying that, she said to Xiao Jiao, "Xiao Jiao, don't listen to Jang Yu's nonsense." Jang Yu smiled and said, "I was just joking. If Xiao Jiao is so good, she will definitely not do anything out of line. Even if I want to, I can't lead her. Isn't that right, Xiao Jiao?" Xiao Jiao fell silent and did not answer. Seeing this, the corners of Jang Yu's mouth turned up slightly. She secretly said in her heart, "Li Jie, I have done you a big favor again, you have to thank me properly."